Good afternoon and welcome to the Rotary Club of Fort Worth. We're so glad that you have chosen to spend the next hour together. We will begin our meeting with an invocation by Brandon Chikotsky, Associate Professor at Texas Christian University School of Business, followed by the national anthem played by past President Doug Briley, fractional CMO and marketing consultant. Brandon?
Thank you. Please join me in prayer. Father God, before Fort Worth belonged to any of us, it belonged to you. You raised the city from a frontier outpost of protection under Major Ripley Arnold, from 43 men on a bluff above the Trinity. You formed a city of resilience, renewal, and responsibility. And your word still reminds us in Luke 12:48, from everyone who has been given much, much will be demanded. Lord, place that truth over this room as a holy calling. As we consider mental health today, please give us tenderness for burdens carried quietly. And as FIFA brings the world to our doorstep, give us eyes for those hidden in plain sight, the trafficked, exploited, and afraid. Let no woman or child made in your image be reduced to silence or shame. Bless our military personnel and first responders, those who run toward danger, and carry what the rest of us were spared from seeing. As Micah 6:8 teaches us, guide us to do justice, love mercy, and walk humbly with you. As early Rotarians of this club exemplified in their good deeds, Eamon Carter, Samuel Burke Burnett, and Benny Keith, please let the four-way test become the conscious of our response, and let the impact of our service outlive our names. With respect for all gathered here, I conclude our prayer in the name cherished and held as hope by our Christian brothers and sisters, offered in my Jewish traditions, ancient Hebrew, and honored in Islam. A name meant to call us to love and serve beyond ourselves. Yeshua ben Yosef. Amen.
Thank you, Brandon. I've just had word that Doug was unable to join us, so please join me as we sing the national anthem a cappella. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave? Thank you, and thank you, Brandon. Today's meeting is being sponsored by the Mental Health Connection of Tarrant County, a nonprofit network of 70 dues-paying member agencies working in the mental health space to improve mental health access and the delivery of services in Tarrant County. Mental Health Connection of Tarrant County provides its members with opportunities to partner and collaborate while offering trainings, educational opportunities, CEUs, and scholarships to mental health professionals. Thank you to the Mental Health Connection and to Christina Judge, the Executive Director. Here to introduce our guest is Keegan Han, Chief Development, Lena Pope. Keegan?
Well, we have a few guests with us, so we'll get through them lickety-split if you'll just hold your applause until the end. All right, starting us off, we have John Gales Jr., guest of past President Larry Anfin. We have Adam McBride and Dee Walker, who are guests of Brandon Chikotsky. We have Max Tonages, guests of Cindy Tonages. We have Lauren Pohl and Kim Brennan, both guests of Christina Judge. And Vanessa Daly, who's a guest of Linda Lopez. Lori George, who is a guest of Darren George. And then finally, we have Zach Leonard, guest of Charlie Johnson. Welcome to all of our guests today.
Thank you, Keegan, and again, welcome to all of our guests. We're so glad you're here. It's a tradition of the Rotary Club of Fort Worth to recite Rotary's four-way test. Please join me. Number 1, is it the truth? Number 2, is it fair to all concerned? Number 3, will it build goodwill and better friendships? And number 4, will it be beneficial to all concerned? Thank you. And now for the next 3 minutes, please 86 the four-way test, as we have Rotary's version of the latest news presented by Brenda Matamoros Beveridge, Major Gifts Officer, Texas Ballet Theater. Brenda.
Wow, that's an amazing welcome. Not. I feel like a Fort Worth ISD right now. Just shut her down. And now the newscast. In economical news, analysis say inflation is under control as long as you don't eat, drive, or exist. In congressional news, Congress returns to session this week after a brief recess to prepare for the next scheduled recess. In Washingtonian news, King Charles III marked the 250th anniversary of American independence from Britain with a gratitude that the two countries united build one of the most consequential alliances in history. He then said off script, I mean, you guys, we totally forgive you for 1776, but like for real, do you guys want us to come back? Because we will, totally will. This year's White House Correspondents' Dinner was quite an event. It really reminded everyone what matters most: clear communication, responsible reporting, and knowing exactly where the exits are. Meanwhile, the Vice President is still waiting to be retrieved from his secure hiding area. In really serious news, reports state that Ohioans are furious after widespread reports of women voting. In religious news, Pope Leo XIV, I don't know what that number is, prayed Monday in the Vatican with the Archbishop of Canterbury, Sarah Mullally. And in a powerful message, he said he vowed to keep working to overcome differences, no matter how integral they may appear. They did agree on one thing: Jesus is totally the spitting image of a Red Cross Donald Trump. In animal news, travelers on East Texas Interstate were forced to stop when a truck carrying about 1 million bees crashed Friday. The swarm shut down an exit of Interstate 40 in Knoxville, said Mark, Tennessee's Department of Transportation regional spokesperson. There were no injuries, he said, but it did make for a huge bumper-to-buzzer traffic jam. It was a sticky situation. In other animal news, researchers discovered that wild chimpanzees in some areas have adapted to consuming fermented fruit, resulting in behaviors similar to our National Security Department. In world international news, the United Arab Emirates said Tuesday will leave OPEC effective May 1st, stripping the oil cartel of its third largest producer. Experts say OPEC is weakening as members pull away. The top official oil guy said, at this point, it's less an oil cartel and more a very awkward group project. In other Strait of Hormuz news, my Temu t-shirts are still just sitting there. That was it. In international space news, NASA spent a decade and $12 billion creating a pen that could write in zero gravity, upside down, and in extreme temperatures. The Russians then looked at the problem and grabbed a pencil. And finally, Fort Worth is looking like extremely fine weather this weekend, so please head out and enjoy. Thank you.
Thank you, Brenda, I think. And speaking of news, we have more Rotarians in the news. This week, the Metro Report had multiple stories about our members. All 4 RLK RMBA award winners, including current member Stay Hall, were recognized as a whole, and then featured with individual stories about their accomplishment. And Maddie Compton was spotlighted under the heading United for Good, which happens to be Rotary's message this year. Congratulations to Maddie and Stay, and a shout out to Chavoyd Hamilton, Rotarian and publisher of the Metro Report, for featuring these outstanding Rotarians. Congratulations and thanks, Chavoyd. I understand when the print copies are available, he's going to share some with us. We have 5 second readings today. To bring those second readings is our co-chairman of the membership committee and past president, Rebecca Montgomery, CEO of Montgomery Strategies. Rebecca.
Thank you, Miss Ann. Good afternoon, everyone. It's an exciting day for Rotary membership. But first, I do want to say thank you to my amazing co-chair, Deanna Stewart, and everyone on our membership team, because this is only possible to have dedicated, engaged volunteers on this committee, in every committee in Rotary. So thank you. I appreciate you all and all your help this past year. Today, we have 5 second readings. Our proposed members are, first up, Taylor T.W. Brown. Taylor is the Director of Education and Training with the Federal Public Defender's Office, Northern District of Texas. Classification Law. Proposer, Scott Hackler. I move his election subject to attending a new member Rotary information session.
We have a motion. Is there a second? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and we welcome Taylor as a new member.
Our second reading is Christopher R. Butler. Christopher is President, CEO of the Parenting Center. Classification, nonprofit. Proposer, Charles Johnson. I move his election subject to attending a new member Rotary information session.
We have a motion. Is there a second? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and we will welcome Christopher.
Our third second reading, we have Cynthia Ann Powell. Cynthia is the Assistant Professor of Engagement and Outreach Ambassador at UNT Health. Classification, higher education. Proposer, Brad Nallen. I move her election subject to attending a new member Rotary information session.
We have a motion. Is there a second? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay. We welcome her as a new member.
See why I shared it's a great day for Rotary membership? Our fourth second reading is Clark Sykes. Clark is the Program Management Group Manager at Friesen Nichols. Classification, engineering. Proposer, past President Jim Whitten. I move his election subject to attending a new member Rotary information session.
We have a motion. Is there a second? Second. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and we welcome Clark as a new member.
And now, our fifth and final second new member reading for this first day of May is Christine Reed Young. Christine is the owner of Powerful Roots Physical Therapy. Classification, healthcare. Proposer, Randall Fluke. I move her election subject to attending a new member Rotary information session.
We have a motion. Is there a second? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and we welcome him as a new member.
Welcome, everyone.
Thank you so much, Rebecca. You know, you may have noticed that first and second readings are becoming a standard part of each week's agenda. And every time we have a first or second reading, I have asked you to invite colleagues to consider joining Rotary. Well, you've done just that. As of today, we have 39 people who are either new members this year or who are in the process of becoming a member. And that's just one short of the membership committee's goal. So thank you to everyone for bringing new members to our club, and especially to the membership committee, who interview every prospective member and make sure all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed in the process. But don't stop now. We still have 2 months to go, and we can exceed that goal. Aurora has membership applications with her and available after the meeting. So thank you, and we are very pleased to have so many new members. Each of our new members is required to perform 6 acts of service to earn their blue badge. Today, we have a blue badge presentation to Shadi Kalani from Tarrant County College. Shadi, if you would come forward. Congratulations to you, and thank you for completing your 6 acts of service. That's it. Photo op. Thank you. Congratulations again to Shadi. May is Mental Health Month, and our program today is about mental health. I am very pleased to introduce Mayor Kenneth Barr as the chairperson of the day. Mayor Barr was the 42nd mayor of Fort Worth from 1996 to 2003 and helped guide the city through a period of significant growth and transformation, with a strong emphasis on regional collaboration and strengthening community partnerships. His leadership reflected a clear understanding that complex challenges such as mental health require coordinated cross-sector solutions. Mayor Barr is one of the founding members of the Mental Health Connection of Tarrant County and is a past president of the Rotary Club of Fort Worth. Please welcome past president, Mayor Kenneth Barr.
Well, thank you, Ann. Our program today, I think, is very appropriate since, as Ann said, it's May 1st, and May is Mental Health Awareness Month. So, since it's Mental Health Awareness Month, I should admit that I've been doing my part. I've already had 3 conversations today, all with myself. And we reached a unanimous decision that it was a good day to come to Rotary and learn about mental health. The great news is that we have some real experts on mental health challenges with us today, and we can all leave here with a better understanding of the challenges people face in our community and in our families. But let me start off by giving just a minute of background. Many of you will remember the shooting in Columbine, Colorado, at the Columbine High School, a shooting on April 20th of 1999. It was a shocking event. Nothing like that had happened at that time. In recent years, we've become sort of desensitized when we hear about shootings like that because they've happened more often. At that time, I was serving as mayor, and shortly after Columbine, I called together a group at City Hall, the city manager, the police chief, the emergency management people, and we talked about how do we keep that from happening in Fort Worth. And you know, we left that meeting thinking, well, there's not anything we could do to keep it from happening. When it happens, we're ready, we can handle it, we can deal with it. We left the room thinking we had done what we ought to do. And then 148 days after Columbine, on September 15th, 1999, it happened in Fort Worth. Many of us remember the shooting at Wedgwood Baptist Church, when a man with untreated mental illness took 7 lives, 4 of them children. In response, I brought the people back together at City Hall, and we talked about it, and the outgrowth of that was working with mental health experts and community stakeholders. We asked critical questions about what should we do and what did we miss in our first meeting. From that effort, the Mental Health Connection of Tarrant County was born, focused on strengthening our mental health system through collaboration, workforce development, and shared learning. I want to thank people like Jenny Hickman, who was a social worker at Cook Children's and had worked at the city, Ted Blevins from Lena Pope Home, Shirley Cox, who was chief of staff in the mayor's office, and Shirley held my feet to the fire over and over and over that we had to do something about mental health. The result was the creation of the Mental Health Connection, and now 27 years later, this organization unites a network of 70 providers, hospitals, nonprofits, and support agencies, all working together to improve access to care and outcomes for people across Tarrant County. And as a side note, I'll tell you, it has brought almost, I think it's about $100 million in grant funding to Tarrant County that wouldn't be here without this organization. And you know, I've learned a lot about mental health as well as other people in our community have, because virtually every family seems to have someone who's struggling with mental health issues, be it depression or other challenges or whatever it might be. So I'm pleased today to introduce our mental health panel. Our speakers are going to focus on something I think is really helpful, can be helpful to each of us individually: behavioral health indicators for family and children in and around us here in Tarrant County. Our moderator will be Christina Judge, the Executive Director for the Mental Health Connection. Christina brings a wealth of experience to her position across diverse sectors, including suicide prevention, healthcare, child welfare, higher education, and is a civilian social worker for the United States Army. She holds a master's in sociology from Texas Woman's University and a Bachelor of Arts in Government and Politics from the University of Maryland. Our first panelist is Dr. Ashley Barnes, who's the CEO of Lena Pope. And Lena Pope has been there all the way for the Mental Health Connection, all the way back to Ted Blevins' leadership 27 years ago. And Dr. Barnes leads strategic efforts to support children and families. With more than 35 years of experience, she's a recognized expert in childhood trauma. She's been named CEO of the Year in Dallas and by the Texas Youth Services, and currently serves as a board chair of the Mental Health Connection and board president of the Texas Network of Youth Services. She holds a PhD in counseling from the University of North Texas and has published research in clinical journals. She's also been featured on NPR, CBS Radio, and Good Morning Texas, and has contributed to documentaries and legislative testimony on domestic violence and sex trafficking. And our second panelist is psychologist Dr. C. Holiday Bean, who serves as the clinical executive director of the Telos Project, a Fort Worth-based nonprofit. She works to expand access to compassionate, evidence-based care, and her approach is collaborative and grounded in the belief that meaningful change doesn't require perfection, just the right support. Dr. Bean serves as board secretary for the Mental Health Connection. Please help me welcome our panel.
Good afternoon. So to follow up on what President Ann and Mayor Barr had said, that today, I mean, we could talk all day about mental health in our community, but today we're really going to focus on those behavioral health indicators for families in Tarrant County. These things include social media, screen time, family stressors, and youth mental health. So without further ado, I'd like to ask the first question, Dr. Bean. How are systemic stressors, such as rising childcare costs and increasing work demands, impacting family mental health in ways that may be under-recognized in clinical settings?
So, I'm a clinical psychologist. I'm going to answer that from that perspective. I think stress is invasive. Stress is a part of our lives, and it is aggressive in nature, especially given the climate of today in the United States. So stress looks like irritability. Stress looks like anger. Stress looks like agitation. And as a parent, you're really going to experience, all of those things. As a child, you're going to experience all of those things. What happens, though, is all of those things that I just named also look like depression, also look like anxiety, also look like ADHD, and sometimes can look like autism. And so there's a lot of pieces in the world right now that are hard to contain. And I think we really have to look at different ways to manage our stress and not always pathologize everything, and really look at how we're going to put all of the pieces together. I feel like I just lost all of my brain.
We can come back to that if you'd like to.
No. I'm like, let me check my notes, because I had lots of notes.
It's different when you're with clients, right?
God. It's so much easier when there isn't a microphone. Okay, so I think a lot of families experience a lot of challenges because we are so stressed out, and at the end of the day, when we get home and we're with our family and with our kids, we end up doing a lot of things that make our lives easier in the short term, but not in the long term. So that looks like a lot of extra screen time. That looks like yelling at your kids because won't they just get in the bathtub and just do what you need them to do? And there's a lot less connection. And then when there's less connection, there's a lot more loneliness in the family. There's a lot more depression. There's a lot more anxiety. And there's a lot less connection. So I think it hurts the family as a whole.
Dr. Barnes, excuse me, I've got Dr. Barnes and Dr. Bean. Do you want to elaborate on that too?
Sure. Son, can you hear me? Yeah. So I think systemically, we are confronted with a variety of stressors that go unnoticed in our day-to-day functioning. I loved the way that they opened this session by saying, I believe it was a blessing for those who are carrying unspoken burdens. And that has become the norm. We're facing more and more senses of loneliness, isolation, social withdrawal, and it might have to do with the increase in screen time, but it also might have to do with the increase in demands that we all carry. Many of us in this room are dealing with the increases of healthcare costs, the increases of childcare costs. Potentially, some of us in this room are dealing with the increases of medical issues that our families are dealing with, whether it's children with autism being on the rise or adults with Alzheimer's also being on the rise. Maybe you're the person in the middle of both of those things, and you have conflicting interests and lots of stress that you have to deal with that. And so the way that that ends up looking is an increase in violence. And unfortunately, the circumstance that created the mental health connection has the potential to reoccur, and it is on a grand scale. And so I do think that we're seeing more agitation. We're seeing a population of kids that are anxious and depressed. We're seeing adults that are stressed beyond measure. And so hopefully today we can talk about some solutions to that can help to alleviate some of those burdens.
Dr. Barnes, if you want to keep the microphone, I'd like to ask another question.
Oh, me?
Yes, in what ways can employers more effectively support the mental health of parents and caregivers without placing the burden of advocacy solely upon them as employees?
Well, more and more, it's become an expectation that employers create opportunities that have supports for employees. Particularly, the younger generation is looking for jobs that have a work-life balance, that have supports for them as parents, that have potential for home time so that they can get some of the things done. As parents, our young population is more burdened than even we were at our age with ballet and baseball and you name it. That's not just something that enriches the child's life. It is part of the daily routine that must happen. If it's not happening, then what is wrong with you? What are you doing in terms of your parenting technique? So employers can provide opportunities for, as appropriate, for the workforce to get out and be with their kids during those important times. Most importantly, though, I think employers are dealing with the stress of providing medical care that is helpful and inclusive of mental health supports. More and more, you find that the rising rising medical costs reduce the fullness and richness of the plans that are being offered to employees. And I would implore most people who are leading organizations to make that a priority. Otherwise, you see it really impacting your ability to be successful as an industry. But more importantly than that, as a culture, we're all going to start fraying at the edges. So things like having nursing stations for moms, allowing your parents to go home with kids, allowing supports for adults who are dealing with aging parents. A lot of times there's concierge services that help to provide referrals or networking. Most of the time, employees are dealing with that as they're trying to do the math. And you know, my brain doesn't work that way. I don't think anyone's does. When you're distracted about your own personal well-being, your mental health and anxiety and depression are suffering, you're not going to produce well. So providing these extra supports, I think, really is the way that industry has to move.
And Dr. Bean, do you want to expand on that? What are some things that are really helpful for our families in the workplace?
So I think flexibility in scheduling is key. Like, I'm a single mom and I had to change my schedule, so I got home at 5 instead of 5:30, and let me tell you how that 30 minutes changed my life. And it sounds silly, but it really is important. Flexibility in scheduling, to recognizing that sometimes people need to work from home and they can work from home. Just even giving the opportunity to run out in the middle of the day to watch their child have a baseball game and engage with them and volunteer at their school if they can. I think it's really important to manage expectations in the workplace, that remembering that at this point in time in our lives, most people do not have a parent who stays at home. So our entire employment industry is really built on the idea that at least one person is at home and one person works. And that's very rarely the case. And so as employers, I think it's really important that we're acknowledging the stress level that everyone is under and how we can contain that, and really making family-forward policies. So yeah, that looks a lot like healthcare that is reduced in cost, that is lower in cost, that looks like opportunities to work from home, or being able to work with, being able to leave early to help get your kids where they need to be. And like, listen, all of our kids are doing way too much. So like, we can all take it down a notch too. But yeah, I mean, the pressures that parents are under right now is very different than it used to be. And we're also living in a really fractured environment. So a lot of people in this room were probably raised with grandparents who live down the street. My parents live in another state. So a lot of people don't have family help. And so there is a lack of a village. And so creating not only, I think, an environment where families are looked after as within your business, but also helping to create kind of a village. knowing who your employees are, knowing how to manage, how to talk to them, what's going on in their lives, building that community and helping modeling, building a community so that people can work with others to help get their kids to where they need to go.
Thank you, thank you. If you want to hold the microphone, Dr. Bean. What
Ready.
community level strategies or policy changes have the greatest impact on reducing family stress if implemented at scale?
Well, I know when she was going over the news, she was saying that our economy is great, and everyone agrees. So everyone has so much money right now. Reducing the cost of healthcare, reducing the cost of childcare, making that something that you can, building into your budget, because everything is very, very, very expensive right now. And when it's expensive, parents still have to pay for ballet, whether they do it or not, or whether they're making this much money or that much money. Kids still need braces. Kids still need to go to the doctor. So we still have to be paying for these things. So making sure that you're, any way I think you can save money, help your employees saving money by covering that the burden of that cost. Childcare is really important, especially ages 0 to 5. Like in America, we kind of just live in this state where you have a baby and then you got to figure it out until they get into kindergarten. And so sometimes that means grandma's watching them. Sometimes that means they're in daycare since they were 6 weeks old, 40 hours a week. Like no one has a baby because they want to have their child raised by someone else. So having, again, going back to the flexibility in the workplace, and some jobs can be done from home and some jobs can't, but just recognizing that you're coming from this place that no one has to always be tied to their chair to be able to get their work done.
Thank you. Dr. Barnes, do you want to?
I think that if we're talking about very large scale, we need to be considering things like community intervention programs, things like early Head Start. Childcare has become more and more of an issue. No one can really afford it. And children aren't getting the interventions that they need. Parents are falling out of the workforce. It sort of has this trickle effect, right? And so if the school systems were to be designed in a way that they could have some interventions much earlier, also to have screenings with pediatricians that are more commonly geared towards mental health. I think that systemically, these are things that need to shift in our community. And I do think there's some awareness about that. I'm pleased to see that people are beginning to think along those lines. It's just a matter of mobilizing that and getting people and communities like yourselves together to enact that.
Yes.
Can I say something too?
Absolutely.
And even kind of going further with screenings for mental health in pediatrician's office, training for medical personnel, they do not get a lot of training for mental health issues. And so really even from a systemic place, going into medical schools, I literally spoke at JPS the other day with beginning family doctors, really teaching, there's only so much information someone can take in, but really teaching different ways that mental health issues show up, because it does not look how we think it looks. So for example, you think of depression, a lot of times people think of just sadness, they're so sad. Depression's rarely sadness. Depression is anhedonia, no longer getting pleasure from things that used to bring you pleasure. Depression is numbness. Depression is not sleeping, not eating, sleeping too much, sleeping not enough, not being able to concentrate, not functioning. So there's just, I think a lot of systemically, we really need to look at training people who are, and really building relationships with your doctors, with people who have the capacity to relate to you and to point you in the right direction.
And even HR professionals. I mean, if you are in an industry in which you have, a larger HR department, I think that having an awareness among those individuals about lack of performance being an indicator of mental health challenges, then you can approach the circumstance in a completely different way. If you have some screening tools and some mechanisms that you can provide early intervention. Domestic violence screening started way back in the emergency rooms and with practitioners as well, and lives have been saved. I think the same thing can happen in the workforce, in your HR departments. I think you can also implement that during pregnancy. Suicide and postpartum depression have become increasingly prevalent among working parents. In fact, it is one of the #1 complications of death during pregnancy is suicide. And you wouldn't imagine that. A lot of people think, oh, she's glowing. I wasn't glowing. I don't know about you guys. It was tough. I mean, I fortunately did not have depression that went along with that, but it's challenging. It's really hard. And so having interventions in the workforce and at your regular doctor are helpful, because nobody thinks about that being a time that you might want to commit suicide.
And I know that a lot of the larger companies have employee assistance programs. And when I was working in suicide prevention, I once had the CEO of a large company here tell me that he would not use his employee assistance program if he was struggling with mental health issues because he didn't want anybody to find out about it. Yeah.
So we have to reduce the stigma. Everyone in this room, I am sure, has experienced depression or anxiety at some point in their lives, because we're human, and to suffer is to be human. It is hard to be human. Earth is a hard planet. It is a hard place to be. And so I think, again, kind of even reducing stigmas and modeling the behavior you want to see, especially when you're in charge. So letting your employees know, hey, I'm going to therapy today. Hey, I mean, you don't need to tell them you're on meds, but you do, letting people know that it's okay to ask for help and showing them that you are also getting help. Because no one's perfect, and that's okay.
Well, and I think to your point, I think about the word stigma, and it's really confusing to me, because more and more people are able to talk about, I'm so anxious, I'm so depressed. And so you're much more able to talk about it among your colleagues, among your friends. To me, what stigma means is when someone is behaving in an angry way or in a lazy way at work or as part of the team, you just don't want to be around them, and you kind of shun them. That is the stigma that we're talking about. It's not that I have a mental health issue, so you are labeling me and saying no, it's my behavior that people are then staying away rather than coming towards realizing this is mental health. This isn't they're a jerk. This is someone struggling. And I think we forget that. And that's what that stigma is about. We need to break down that piece where we do approach those people rather than just shun them.
Something I say in my practice a lot is behavior is a language. So what is this behavior trying to tell us? And as employers, I think it's really important that we really incorporate that. Exactly. So if someone is, suddenly acting lazy, I don't like the word lazy. I don't like the word manipulative. I think those are kind of lazy and manipulative words. Because again, behavior is a language. So what are they? Are they burned out? Are they stressed out? Did you know that their grandmother just died and their child is failing in school and they feel like they're failing? And so now they are failing everywhere. So what can we do to support them? How can we create a village together? That's the biggest piece. And to me, a village really starts with relationship building. Know your people, know what's going on, check in, and offer support when and where you can. And sometimes that is going to cut into our bottom line, and you guys have to make a choice about, I run a nonprofit, so I don't get to keep anything. But it is important to really recognize, do we want to support someone and have staff that has a good quality of life, and how can we do that? Or are we going to build a bigger pool? So.
Okay, let's switch gears here. We're going to talk about technology. Dr. Barnes, what are some practical, non-punitive strategies families can use to create healthy boundaries around technology? Screen time, iPads.
I think we have to define non-punitive first. I mean, your kids are going to think that it's punitive no matter what you do. If you're putting limits around it at first, it feels uncomfortable because you're changing your practices at home. But having, a basket that you put your phones in when you come home and you have some family time or you have some relaxing time, it's really hard to implement it, But once you get into that pattern, it's fine. Not having the phone next to the bed. I have to say, I'm terrible with that. You have to have some hygiene around your social media practices as an adult for your entire family to engage in that. So if you're not doing it, your kids definitely are not going to adhere to what you're telling them to do. But you have to put something in place, right? You can't just say, oh, everybody put your phones away, and then everybody goes to their room and sits silently. You have to do the next uncomfortable thing, which is bring everybody together for a game night, or we've ended up really loving Pictionary. We have stories upon stories of our drawing capabilities, which aren't great. But that was something that we put in place as opposed to sitting with our phones, even all together in the den. I think it just becomes habitual because you need it for so many things. I need to schedule this. Oh, what's so-and-so's name? Oh, what was in the news the other day? Or, oh, I'm looking at that email that somebody sent. What did he say? I can't remember. Let me just pull it. Oh, what's the weather going to do? You count on it for literally everything. And your kids do too. And so having some time where we actually use our brains for recall. Remember, now they're so stressed that it's hard for us to actually recall without our phones. But in the long run, you'll find that those are stress inhibitors, just being present. Also being in nature without electronic equipment is really very important. Whether it is grounding, whether it is forest bathing, whether it is going for a walk, whether it is just breathing out in the air for 10 minutes, however many minutes you can put into your day, is going to increase mental well-being. So you're removing something that's taxing the system and adding something that is improving the system. And it's a win-win all the way around. And while at first it's uncomfortable, it becomes much more comfortable if you stick with it for at least a month of uncomfortableness. So get ready.
Dr. Bean, I know you have young children, and a lot of us in the room, we kind of missed that phase with our children. I know my children are in their 30s, so we didn't have that. They had cell phones when they got out of soccer early or trombone practice. There wasn't all of that data and, all those digital platforms. So I'm interested to know what your take is on it.
So part of what I do for a living is a lot of parent coaching, and something I tell parents all the time: model the behavior you want to see. And really, more importantly, you need to have very consistent rules about screen time. And that can be different for everyone's family because everyone's family looks different. And these are rules that I promise I live by. So in my house, we don't do any screens Monday through Thursday. Not cell phones, not iPads, not TVs. We do music. When we get home from school, we hang out, we enjoy. As an adult, I take my cell phone, I put it in a community place. We're typically hanging out in the kitchen, face down. That doesn't mean I don't randomly answer it if I need to, because again, they are our life force, unfortunately. But I really try to model that behavior. But what's really great about that system for me in my life is that my 6-year-old daughter on a Tuesday will go, "Mommy, can I play on my iPad?" And I go, "Hey, what day is it?" She goes, "Tuesday." I'm like, "Is it a weekend day?" "No." "Then can you play with your iPad?" "No." "Well, there we go." And that happens, it works every single time. On the weekends, my rules are no more than 2 hours a day. And that includes TV. So sometimes that's Saturday morning cartoons. Sometimes that's after they kind of want to zone out after they've had a soccer game. That's fair. Me too. But it's being really intentional and deliberate about the time you're spending on it, So something I ask constantly in my practice is, how much time is your child on a screen during the day? And I love when a parent says, I don't know, about 4 hours. This is a 6-year-old. On a Monday, you're spending 4 hours, so they're getting home from school, they're immediately on screens, and then they're on screens until bedtime, and then you're wondering why they're agitated, why they're irritable, why they can't sleep. That doesn't work. So I think it's really important that you have rules. Rules need to be the same across grandma's house, your house, dad's house, mom's house. Parents need to be on the same page. So you don't want to be in a situation where mom has this rule, but like, oh, dad's in charge, so like, actually, I can do all of this. You don't want that. Recognize, here's a really scary stat, guys. Did you know that Gen Z was is the first generation since we started tracking this that is not as smart as the previous generation? They did not get smarter, they got dumber. Screens are making us dumber. I love what Dr. Barnes said about getting out in nature, and again, this kind of goes with modeling the behavior you want to see. Have intentional practices at home that you manage for you and your kids. So, if you're getting home and you're on your cell phone, don't be mad when they're getting home and they're immediately on their iPad. Have lots of things in and around your house. Have puzzles out, have lots of manipulatives out. Encourage family walking. Like, we have lots of rituals at my house. So we always take the family dog on a walk at a certain time, and we try to be really I try to be very intentional about the time I'm spending with my kids. So, and that also kind of, just to piggyback off of what we've been talking about, these are things that not only reduce stress, but they also make it that it helps build togetherness, it helps model the behavior you want to see, and it helps build healthy habits.
So I think you really hit on something, and Dr. Barnes, I kind of like to get your feedback on this. So you're talking about modeling. So it's not a case of do as I say, not as I do, because parents have that obligation to be able to model that healthy behavior when it comes to technology and screen time. What is your take on this, Dr. Barnes?
Absolutely. I mean, I think that kids are learning through social platforms how to behave. And that's their biggest teacher right now. And so if you want them to learn from Instagram what to do or what the next big challenge is, then that's one way to go. But if you want them to really look to you as someone that they respect and admire, and that you're part of their friendship circle, as well as their parent and as well as someone who leads them, then I think you do have to show how to act. They don't have anybody else. I mean, their friends, that's going to be the next, and then you. It depends on their age, of course. My kids are now adults, and I think that if you're modeling it early on, they're going to call you. My daughter's 26, and she calls me, Mom, you're never going to believe. And I'm grateful for that, because she wants to talk through it with me, because she believes that my input is valuable. And that started when they were little, that we created that by demonstrating how you should do things and drawing the line in the sand. I remember a conversation I had with my daughter, young. I was like, there's a line in the sand and you just crossed it. We do not do that type of thing. And let's figure out how we're gonna repair that, because it's not okay. It hurts the community, it hurts you, it hurts our family, and that's not gonna be okay. And help them understand how did this impact the larger system? What you're doing, how does it impact the larger system? And this is the reason I do things, and this is who I'm trying to impact in a positive way. It's my job to be involved in a respectful way in our community and in our family and in my relationships, and you too. And so when you demonstrate that and explain your reasonings for behaving in the ways that you do, then they integrate that rather than only getting it from social media and friends.
Well, I'm getting the nod from President Ann, and I don't know, do we have a couple seconds for questions? We do? Are there any questions? Yes, sir.
concerned about suicide. I'm extremely concerned. I have experienced suicide twice. I've had 2 employees that have committed suicide. Did I know about it? Yeah, I did. Did we try and work about it? We did. At the end of the day, I lost 2 employees. How, as leaders in our community, are we able to use and what tools are available for each of us to avail ourselves of to preclude that from happening?
So Dr. Michael is asking about tools that have to do with suicide prevention, having lost a couple employees who died by suicide.
It's a really hard question, and I probably, many people in this room have been affected by suicide in some way. And unfortunately, once someone makes that decision, there's nothing you as a person in their life can do. It's before you get there. It's way, way before you get there. Even if someone were to tell you, I think I might, and you weigh in on this, I think I might kill myself, you would like to believe that you're powerful enough that you could make that not happen. And unfortunately, we are not that powerful. It is within that person that something has to happen. You can provide supports, you can provide round-the-clock care, you can sit with them, you can get with them through the difficult time, you can make a safety plan, you can get a psychiatrist, you can get the medications, you can do all the things, and they can still make that decision. So it's why we're here today, because we want to have those things in place as employers. Your HR recognize they're not just being lazy. This is not just a performance issue. There's a point of intervention. It's their colleagues. Don't avoid that person who's being angry and rude. Say, hey, what's up? What can I do for you? Invite them to lunch. I know you may not want to be around them because they're not being cool, but that's the person who needs you. Those are the times that you can intervene, referring them as an employer. I actually worked with a young lady at a place that I worked years and years ago, and I walked past her in the hall, and I thought, something is not right with her. And I didn't know her that well, and I followed her down the hall, and her door was closed, and I knocked on the door and knocked on the door and knocked on the door, and she wasn't answering, but I could hear she was crying in there. And so I kind of stood out there for a while, and then I knocked on the door, and I went in and said, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I can see you're really just devastated and you need someone. I don't know what's going on, but I'm here to help, and I know you don't know me very well, but what can we do? And it's those kinds of uncomfortable situations that I think we have to place ourselves in so that we can avoid those types of things. And she did admit that she was feeling suicidal, and she ended up going to a hospital. But no one else, everybody knew she was kind of off, but nobody else would go in. And I was like, I don't know her from anybody, but I'm not going to let that happen. And those are the times that you need to jump in.
I think we're out of time, and will you ladies be able to stay afterwards a little bit in case anyone has any questions? Thank you very much. Thank you to everybody.
Thank you so much, Dr. Barnes and Dr. Bean and Christina, for providing this program today. It's the tradition of the Rotary Club to make a contribution in your honor to Rotary International's Polio Plus program. We have done that and are proud to tell you that through the last 38 years, Rotary has provided more than 3 billion immunizations for polio to children around the world. Thank you so much, and do come back. Good to see you. And make sure everybody has the right one. To close our meeting today, we have just 3 announcements. First, the International Committee will be meeting immediately following this meeting in the Rotary office in Suite 305. Thank you again to our speakers and to the Mental Health Connection for sponsoring today's meeting. Next week, our program is Tim O'Keefe, the artistic director of the Texas Ballet Theater. You'll be interested to hear him. Enjoy the weekend, and we'll see you next week. Thanks for coming. Our meeting is adjourned.